Are you ready to take control of your own life? You say you want a life in order, but you're still waiting for time or luck to fix what only you can face. Tell me, who's in charge today? You, or the chaos that shows up every day disguised as urgency? Organizing your life isn't just about folding clothes or cleaning the house. It's about aligning your mind, your heart, and your actions. It's shining light into the dark corners where you hide postponed decisions, forgotten promises, and fears you haven't faced. Think of a house after a flood. The water goes away, but everything is out of place. That's how we live today, drowning in messages, deadlines, comparisons, and pressures. Stoic philosophy is like a flashlight that helps you see what still serves you, what needs to go, and what is waiting to be fixed. Having order doesn't mean being rigid. It means having space to breathe, clarity to choose, and courage to stick to your decisions, even when the world screams otherwise. Today, we're diving into 15 lessons that cut across what you feel, what you do, and what you carry inside and out. I'm not offering miraculous promises, but firm paths. And before we continue, I want to invite you to do something simple, but very powerful. Go to the comments and write, "Today I take control of my life." This isn't just a phrase, it's a pact with yourself, a reminder that from now on, you decide the direction, and those who organize themselves are the ones who free themselves. Let's get started. Lesson 1. Define your priorities. The first step toward order. To organize your life, you must first define what truly matters. And I know it might seem simple at first glance, but don't underestimate the power of this action. When you don't define your priorities, life will do it for you. The problem is that the priorities imposed by the world, work, other people's expectations, constant demands, often have nothing to do with what's truly meaningful to you. Stoic philosophy teaches us that to be free, you must know what you control and what you don't. Everything you don't control is out of your reach, and spending energy trying to shape it is one of the easiest ways to lose your peace and focus. What can you really control? Your choices, your thoughts, and your actions. And the first great action, the foundation of organizing your life, is choosing what will occupy your time, energy, and attention. The truth is, throughout the day, we're bombarded with an absurd amount of demands: work, social media, family expectations, unexpected commitments. The distractions are everywhere, and it's very easy to get lost in them. But when you're not clear about what really matters, anything that appears in your path can end up taking your attention and energy, leaving you exhausted and unsatisfied. Here's the key point. You cannot be everything to everyone. It's impossible. And trying to control everything around you is a recipe for chaos. The first step toward true organization is to stop trying to please everyone and focus on what truly makes sense for you. When you define your priorities, you gain control over what enters your life and what doesn't. You stop reacting automatically to other people's needs and start acting with purpose and clarity. And don't be mistaken, defining priorities doesn't mean making a simple to-do list. It's not about chasing all your desires. It's about consciously deciding where to invest your energy. What truly drives you? What brings you joy, growth, and purpose? Don't let external pressure influence you. Ask yourself, what do I need most right now to build the life I want? Perhaps in reflecting, you'll realize that the things taking up your mind and time have nothing to do with your true priorities. Maybe work has dominated your life because you forgot that your health or relationships deserve equal attention. Or maybe you've been lost in other people's expectations and neglected what truly makes you happy. The exercise here is practical and simple. Define your 3 biggest priorities. Don't list everything. This isn't about quantity, it's about quality. What would you like to devote more time and energy to? Health, family, professional growth, personal development, or perhaps something more specific, like learning a new skill or finally starting that project that's been on paper for too long. Now write these priorities somewhere visible, on your phone or on paper. When something is clear and visible, it becomes a constant reference for your decisions. It's not about being rigid. It's about remembering what truly matters amid the chaos of daily life. This is a guide for your choices. After defining your priorities, reflect on how they show up in your routine. Ask yourself, am I truly living according to these priorities? Am I dedicating myself to them consistently? Or am I just reacting to whatever comes my way? If you find that your schedule is full of things that don't contribute to your priorities, it's time to make adjustments. This is what it means to take control of your life, making deliberate choices. And don't think it's easy. It will require discipline and courage, because many times we'll have to give up things that, while appealing, don't align with what we truly desire. It can be difficult at first, especially if you're used to living on autopilot, chasing after everything that comes your way. But the truth is, making conscious choices is the key to organizing your life, and that's where true freedom lies. Finally, remember that the process of organizing your life isn't about fitting into a perfect mold. It's about creating a space where your choices and your time are in harmony with your deepest values. It's not about doing everything perfectly all the time, but about starting to live with more intention. I hope that by reflecting on your priorities, you realize that life doesn't have to be as chaotic as it seems. Organization begins when you take the first step of pausing and reflecting, and the second step of making choices based on what truly matters. Now, my friend, start writing down your priority. Lesson 2. Set boundaries. Protect your energy and your time. After defining your priorities, the next step is to set clear boundaries to ensure that your choices aren't diluted or constantly challenged by external demand. Have you noticed how often you find yourself making decisions you didn't want to make simply because you didn't know how to say no? Or how drained you feel from the energy of other people in situations that aren't your responsibility? This happens because boundaries aren't well defined. Stoicism, with its profound wisdom, has always taught us to maintain peace of mind even in the face of chaos. And one of the most effective ways to preserve that peace is by creating well-structured boundaries. When you don't define what's acceptable and what isn't, you become vulnerable to external control. You start living for others instead of living for yourself. And by doing this, your energy gradually drains until, at the end of the day, you find yourself exhausted, with no time for the things that truly matter. Setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's being responsible for yourself. In our society, there's a belief that we should be accessible to everyone all the time. We're expected to be available, ready to help, respond to messages, answer calls. But the truth is, if you don't set clear boundaries, others will do it for you, and often not in the way you would like. The first part of setting boundaries is understanding that there's nothing wrong with putting yourself first. This doesn't mean you'll be insensitive to others, but that you'll take care of your own mental and physical health. If you don't respect your own limits, no one else will. Stoics teach us to be firm in our convictions, and learning to respect our time and energy is one of the most effective ways to maintain mental clarity. So, what does this look like in practice? Let's start with something simple. Decide in advance what you won't do. This could include limiting your time on social media. If it's a distraction for you, set a daily limit and stick to it. Say no without guilt. If someone asks for something that doesn't align with your priorities or will drain your energy, simply say no. And please, no excuses. We don't need to justify every decision. Set work and rest hours. Often, work invades our personal time. Establish a clear cutoff time and respect it as if it were a non-negotiable rule. Boundaries are the foundation of self-discipline. If you let others invade your time or energy, you're allowing them to take control of your life. Most anxiety and frustration come from being constantly overwhelmed, trying to please everyone, and living for others. When you clearly define what you can and cannot do, you create a healthy space to breathe and make decisions with more calm. Of course, this doesn't happen overnight. You'll often feel guilty saying no, especially if you're used to pleasing everyone. This is normal, but remember, that guilt comes from a place where you haven't yet learned to prioritize yourself. Over time, you'll notice that by setting boundaries, you'll be able to give more of yourself to others in a more authentic way, because you'll be doing it from a place of renewed energy, not scarcity. Setting boundaries also means taking care of your emotional space. If you don't have room to reflect, be silent, or rest, you won't have the energy to be who you truly want to be. Remember that self-care isn't just about free time or physical rest, it's also about giving yourself the right to decide what enters your life emotionally. The conversations you have, the situations you choose to face, and the type of energy you allow into your space all need clear boundaries. So, my friend, the reflection here is, what boundaries do you need to set to protect your time, your energy, and your emotional health? Think about everything you've let invade your life unintentionally. Reflect on what really matters to you and where you can start protecting yourself more. Define your boundaries firmly and allow yourself to stay true to your own path. By doing this, you'll feel a great sense of relief, and the chaos that seemed constant will begin to dissipate. Before we move on to the next lesson, I need to share something urgent with you. Researchers at Harvard have discovered a toxic mineral hidden in our daily lives, found in drinks, foods, and even common products, that has been detected in 98% of the brains of Alzheimer's patients. This silent poison accumulates slowly, destroying our brain cells and stealing precious memories. The result? Frequent forgetfulness, lapses in attention, and a much higher risk of developing Alzheimer's or dementia. But here's the good news. There's a simple way to remove this neurotoxic mineral from the brain and reactivate the so-called memory molecule, discovered by Harvard scientists. With Pineal Guardian, you'll get direct, practical guidance showing how to use this knowledge to protect your mind, regain mental clarity, and keep your memory sharp even as the years go by. Don't wait. The link is available in the description of this video and also in the pinned comment. Lesson 3. Organize your space. Look around you right now. Your bedroom, your desk, the space where you spend most of your time. What do you see? Mess? Things out of place? Accumulated items you don't even use anymore? Maybe yes, maybe no. But here's a hard truth that's difficult to ignore. The space you inhabit is a direct reflection of your inner state. If there's chaos outside, there's probably chaos inside. If there's order in your environment, your mind breathes easier. The Stoics didn't speak about organizing the home in the literal sense we think of today, but they believed that the external world should be in harmony with the internal, not because we need to live in perfect environments, but because how we relate to our surroundings reflects how we relate to ourselves. Excess, disorder, and neglect aren't just aesthetic issues. They drain energy, feed distractions, and trap us in an invisible cycle of confusion. Imagine the difference between waking up in a messy room with clothes scattered, papers piled up, and waking up in a clean space with only the essentials visible. In the first scenario, your mind starts the day heavy, overloaded with stimuli. In the second, it finds room for clarity and direction. The difference may seem small, but repeating this environment every day shapes how you think and act. Organizing your space is also an act of self-respect. It's not about creating a magazine-worthy home, but about building an environment that fosters discipline, serenity, and focus. Every object out of place is a postponed decision. Every pile of forgotten papers, every overflowing drawer, every neglected corner is a silent reminder that something is pending within you. When you force yourself to organize, you're not just tidying a physical space, you're training your mind to decide, simplify, and let go. Stoic philosophy reminds us that we must learn to distinguish what is essential from what is superfluous. This also applies to the objects we accumulate. How many things do you keep out of attachment, fear, or habit? How many clothes have you never worn again? How many items just take up space without adding anything to your present? Letting go of excess is an exercise in freedom. It's understanding that nothing material defines who you are, and carrying unnecessary things only makes your journey heavier. Here's a practical exercise. Choose a small space, your desk, a shelf, a drawer, and organize it. Remove everything, observe, and ask yourself, does this serve my purpose? Does this help me or hinder me? Does this reflect who I want to be from now on? Then put back only what makes sense. Everything else, discard or donate. This small gesture is symbolic but powerful. It sends a clear message to your subconscious. I am taking control. I decide what stays and what doesn't in my life. And it's not just about aesthetics or functionality. It's about creating a space that supports your priorities. If one of your goals is to take better care of your health, why keep processed food taking up most of your pantry? If you want to write more, why is your desk full of distractions? The order of your space must serve the purpose of your life, not the other way around. When you organize your environment, something happens inside you. Your mind relaxes, anxiety decreases, and a sense of clarity emerges that once seemed impossible. Over time, this external practice transforms into an internal habit. You learn to organize not just your desk, but also your thoughts, emotions, and choices. So my friend, start looking at the space around you as a mirror. If there's chaos, don't blame yourself. Just acknowledge it. Use every object out of place as an invitation to change. Remember, organizing your space isn't just a physical act. It's a spiritual discipline disguised as a daily routine. It's you silently telling the world that you've decided to take the reins of your own life. Underscore, 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 underscore. Many believe freedom is doing whatever you want whenever you want. But this kind of apparent freedom often turns into a prison of laziness, impulses, and fleeting desires. True freedom is born from routine. It may sound contradictory, but it's precisely daily structure that gives us clarity and power to live according to our choices. The Stoics understood that each day is an opportunity to practice virtue, not to get lost in improvisation. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his journal every morning to align his thoughts with his intentions. This habit wasn't trivial. It was his way of preparing to face the day with firmness. Without routine, we are at the mercy of circumstances, vulnerable to distractions and dependent on mood. With routine, you create a track that guides you even when motivation fails. Think of routine as invisible architecture that supports your life. If it's solid, you move forward. If it's fragile, you collapse at the slightest adversity. It's not about filling your day with tasks, but about giving your time direction. When you start and end your day consciously, you create a cycle of order that repeats and strengthens your mind. Many resist the idea of routine because they associate it with monotony. But what causes boredom isn't routine itself, it's the absence of purpose within it. A well-constructed routine doesn't imprison you, it frees you. It eliminates unnecessary decisions, protects your energy, and opens space for what's essential. Instead of spending hours deciding what to do, you already know, because your routine has been designed to serve your priorities. Imagine two people with the same goal. One decides they'll exercise, work on projects, or eat better whenever they feel like it. The other sets clear times, creates reminders, and organizes their environment to make these habits more accessible. Which one do you think will be more consistent? What differentiates great results isn't the intensity of effort, but the consistency of routine. Here's the exercise. Choose a central habit for your life and give it a fixed time. It could be waking up to write for 10 minutes, taking a walk every evening, or turning off your phone an hour before bed. Small, but fixed. Don't negotiate this habit with your mind. It will be the foundation that supports everything else. And remember, your routine doesn't need to be perfect. It needs to be firm. Too much rigidity can cause frustration, but a lack of structure creates disorder. The art is finding the point where discipline becomes natural, almost automatic, yet still full of purpose. My friend, by mastering your routine, you're building the ground where your priorities can flourish. It's a silent act of power. Every day, at the same time, you reaffirm who you've chosen to be. And in the end, you'll realize that this discipline isn't a burden, it's a lightness. Because when life is structured, there's room for what really matters. Underscore, 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 underscore. Lesson 5. But the truth is, the more we accumulate, the more trapped, suffocated, and confused we feel. We live in an era where more is almost it invades the mind, fragments our attention, and steals our peace. More information, true organization in life doesn't start when you do more. It starts when you learn to live with less. Is the same as winning. The Stoics deeply understood this truth, not because they despised material goods, but because they knew that all excess creates dependence. The more things we have, the more we have to lose. The more commitments we accept, the more we become slaves to other people's schedules. The more we try to be everywhere, the further we move away from ourselves. Simplicity for them was the most elegant form of freedom. Notice this. Every item you keep without using is a decision you've postponed. Every commitment you accept unwillingly is a piece of your energy given to someone else. Every distraction you allow into your routine is an invitation to chaos. Accumulation doesn't just weigh down your shelves, it weighs down the silence of your mind. Imagine waking up in a messy room full of scattered clothes, piled papers, and unused items. Unknowingly, your mind awakens in a state of alert, overloaded by disorder. Now imagine waking up in a clean space, with only the essentials visible. The breath already feels different, right? External simplicity creates internal clarity, and when you create clarity, you create space to act with purpose. Simplifying isn't giving up everything. It isn't living like an isolated monk. It's consciously choosing what stays and what goes. It's looking at your life like a garden. If you don't pull the weeds, they take over, suffocate the flowers, and steal nutrients. The same goes for your thoughts, commitments, and possessions. If you don't cut excess, it grows uncontrollably and suffocates what truly has value. The act of simplifying is also an act of courage, because it requires detachment. It requires letting go of the illusion that accumulation equals security. Security isn't in what you have, it's in who you are. The Stoics remind us that true wealth is internal, not external. If you need many things to feel at peace, your peace isn't true. It's a hostage. In practice, simplifying can start small. A drawer you clean, a commitment you decide to cancel, an app you delete because it only wastes your time. Every choice is a quiet, yet powerful victory. Gradually, you realize you don't need to carry so much weight. Life becomes lighter when you leave empty space, keeping only what makes sense. Here's an important reflection. Excess is never neutral. It always comes at a cost. Time, energy, focus, health. When you say yes to something that doesn't matter, you automatically say no to something that could transform your life. Simplicity isn't deprivation, it's clarity. It's knowing how to choose what deserves your energy and refuse the rest without guilt. Do the exercise today. Choose something to simplify. It could be a part of your physical space, like your desk. It could be your schedule, eliminating a task that doesn't serve your purpose. It could be your mind, turning off notifications that pull you out of the present moment. Every action is a message to yourself. I decide what stays in my life. Gradually, simplicity becomes a lifestyle. You discover you need fewer clothes, but clothes you truly like, fewer people, but deeper relationships, fewer activities, but tasks that make a difference. That's where the power lies, in focus, in the essential. My friend, simplifying isn't losing, it's gaining lightness, clarity, and direction. The world will insist that you need more to be happy, but the secret is the exact opposite. When you learn to live with less, you realize you already had everything you needed. Lesson 6. Take responsibility for your own life. The steering wheel of your life is in your hands. There comes a moment in life when you have to face an uncomfortable truth. No one is going to organize your life for you. It doesn't matter how much you blame work, circumstances, family, the government, or bad luck. As long as you cling to excuses, you'll remain stuck in the same place. The Stoics remind us that it's not what happens outside that defines our life, but how we choose to respond to it. And the choice is always ours, always. Many live as if they were passengers, waiting for someone else to drive the car of their existence. But if you hand over the wheel, you can't complain about the direction. Every time you say, I don't have time, I can't, I'm not able because of so-and-so, you are giving up the only thing truly under your control, your own actions. And the consequence is clear: stagnation, frustration, and a growing sense of powerlessness. Taking responsibility doesn't mean carrying the world on your shoulders. It means recognizing that your life is the direct result of the choices you make or avoid making. You don't control the rain, but you control whether you take an umbrella. You don't control other people's moods, but you control whether you let it affect your peace. You don't control every event, but you control how you respond to it. This is the field of your power. How many times have you postponed projects, waited for the right moment, or blamed your discouragement on circumstances? The truth is harsh but liberating. The right moment never comes. The world will never be perfectly aligned for you to act. Either you take control now, or you remain a hostage to endless excuses. Responsibility also requires letting go of the illusion that everything that happens is someone else's fault. There's a clear difference between guilt and responsibility. Guilt looks backward and points fingers. Responsibility looks forward and builds paths. The Stoics teach us to focus on what we can do today, on the next possible step, on the present decision, because life happens in the present, not in regrets about the past, nor in fantasies about the future. In practice, taking responsibility starts small, but in a concrete way. If you're dissatisfied with your health, take the first step now. Walk, stretch, choose a more mindful meal. If your finances are in disorder, sit down and write out your expenses. If your relationships are fragile, take the initiative to listen more and complain less. Don't wait for change to come from outside. You are the agent of transformation. Here's an essential point. When you take responsibility, you also take power. You stop being a victim and become the protagonist. Even in the toughest situations, there is always a margin for action, however small. Epictetus, who was born a slave, reminded us that no one could take away the essential, the freedom to choose your attitude. This applies to all of us. Taking responsibility is an act of courage, but also an act of self-love. It's looking in the mirror and saying, "The life I want starts with me." And when you do this, something changes inside you. The energy that was spent on complaints turns into action. The time wasted waiting on others transforms into creation. Powerlessness gives way to a silent but unshakable strength. Don't wait any longer. Stop negotiating with your own conscience. The responsibility you fear carrying is actually the key to your freedom. When you take command, you realize that while you don't control everything, you can always choose how to live. Underscore, 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 underscore. Silence scares us because it delivers us to ourselves. But it's precisely this discomfort that reveals the power of silence. The soul. The Stoics,
If there's
who lived
one
in a
precious
noisy
resource
world
we forget
full
in
of
the rush
wars,
of the modern
political
world,
disputes,
it's silence.
the weight of an empire,
We live in a time when we're
knew
taught
the value
to fill
of
every
withdrawing
space with
to
stimuli.
reflect. At home,
Marcus
the TV
Aurelius,
has to be on.
the most powerful man of his
Outside,
time,
headphones occupy
wrote
our
alone
ears.
in silence
If we have a
before
minute
making
of
decisions.
pause, the phone
Why?
immediately goes into our hands.
Because he
understood that no external voice is as important as his own conscience, and only in silence can it be heard clearly. Silence isn't absence, it's presence. It's the space where you reconnect with yourself. Think of a lake stirred by the wind. The water becomes murky, unable to reflect anything. But when the wind ceases, the surface calms, and the lake becomes a perfect mirror. The human mind works the same way. Surrounded by noise, it remains confused, restless, unable to see clearly. When you withdraw into silence, the waters settle, and suddenly the truth appears, clear and reflected. Yet we flee from silence. We flee because it reveals our weaknesses, doubts, and loneliness. It's where we notice unresolved wounds, postponed choices, hidden fears. That's why we prefer to fill it with distractions. The problem is, these distractions don't heal. They only mask, like covering a hole with a rug. Sooner or later, the emptiness screams again. Organizing your life requires cultivating silence, not just to rest, but to see what truly matters. You don't need hours of meditation to start. Just create small islands of silence throughout the day. 10 minutes in the morning before touching your phone, a break in the afternoon walking without headphones, a moment before bed where you allow yourself only to breathe and write whatever comes to mind. These simple pauses are more revolutionary than they seem, because silence works like a mental cleanse, removing excess thoughts and opening space for the essential. And here's the secret. The more you practice silence, the more you realize it isn't empty. Silence is full of answers that were hidden, full of strengths you already had but didn't notice, full of insights that noise would never have allowed. Silence is fertile. It's where you organize your emotions, understand your limits, and connect with your essence. Imagine your mind as a house. If you never empty it, if you never organize it, it fills up with unused objects, old things, accumulated clutter. Silence is the moment when you open the windows, let the air in, and throw away what no longer serves you. In doing so, you realize there was always space available. You see that the mess wasn't inevitable, that order was within your reach all along. My friend, if you feel that your life is heavy, that your mind never stops, that your energy dissolves into thousands of small worries, perhaps you don't need more activities, more commitments, more noise. Perhaps you only need a few minutes of sincere silence, not as an absence of sound, but as a presence with yourself. Silence is the invisible discipline that organizes the soul. It's the secret space where you rebuild yourself. There's no audience, no likes, no applause, just you in contact with your truth, and it's in this place that calm, clarity, and the order you seek are born. Cultivate silence as if watering a hidden garden, not to show the world, but to flourish peacefully within yourself. Underscore, 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 underscore. It's the structure that supports all your projects. Underscore. It's the foundation that enables your choices. Underscore. And yet, how often do we neglect it? Underscore. How often do we treat our body like a disposable machine, forgetting that without it, there is no discipline, Lesson 8, focus, take care of your serenity. It's your temple. The Stoics, even without modern science, understood this. Schedules or priorities. Seneca reminded us that while virtue resides in the soul, the body must be kept strong and balanced so that the soul can exercise its power. It's a mistake to think caring for the body is vanity. It's not about chasing an aesthetic ideal, but about preserving the tool that allows you to act in the world. Think of a warrior with a rusty sword. He may have courage and strategy, but his weapon won't accompany him on the battlefield. We are the same when we neglect our bodies. Our mind may have good intentions, but a fragile, tired body won't have the energy to follow through. Caring for the body starts with simple but powerful habits. Sleep, for example. How many of us sacrifice rest to produce more, not realizing that an exhausted mind performs less and a tired body makes more mistakes? Sleeping well is an act of discipline. It's recognizing that tomorrow begins the night before. Nutrition is another pillar. We don't need extreme diets or impossible restrictions. We need awareness, asking ourselves before each meal, does this nourish my body or just my fleeting emotions? Overeating and seeking instant pleasure from foods that drain energy reflect inner disorganization. When you organize your plate, you also organize your mind. Movement is indispensable. It's not about becoming an athlete, but honoring the body for what it was made to do. Move, walk, stretch, practice exercises that strengthen muscles and lungs. Movement not only cares for physical health, but clears the mind, improves mood, and organizes thoughts. How many times have you returned from a walk with clarity you couldn't find sitting in front of a screen? That's no coincidence. It's body and mind in harmony. The body also holds our emotions. Anxiety, anger, sadness, all manifest physically. Tense shoulders, shallow breathing, tight stomach. Learning to listen to your body is a way to organize the soul. Often life isn't unbearable. It's the body screaming for care you haven't given. Caring for the body, my friend, is a Stoic act. It's a silent, daily commitment that reflects discipline, respect, and awareness. Don't wait for life to organize itself while you neglect the foundation that supports everything. The body is the temple where your discipline resides. Treat it with respect, and you'll see how it becomes an ally in every other area of your life. Lesson 9. Organize your finances. Organize your finances. The wealth of simplicity. There is no organized life if your money is in disorder. For many, finances are a source of anxiety, arguments, and sleepless nights. Curiously, the problem rarely lies in absolute lack, but in lack of control, impulse, and the habit of spending before thinking. The Stoics remind us that true wealth is not in possessing much, but in needing little. This principle is a powerful guide to bring clarity and order to your financial world. Money is energy in motion. It carries the weight of your choices, reflects your priorities, and exposes where you invest your attention. Every expense is, in a way, a silent decision about who you want to be. And this is where many stumble, seeking relief through consumption, trying to patch internal voids, or proving their worth to others. But it never works. The more we buy to fill holes, the bigger the holes grow. Organizing finances does not mean accumulating wealth without purpose. It means aligning how you use money with your values. It means spending consciously, investing in what builds, and eliminating the superfluous that drains energy. Think like a gardener. If you scatter seeds randomly, you waste resources and reap nothing. If you plant with intention, you harvest abundance at the right time. The first step is clarity. Many fear looking at their own accounts as if ignoring them would solve the problem. But the unknown weighs more than the truth. Write everything down. Income, expenses, debts, small purchases. The act of bringing light to it already organizes half the path. The second step is cutting. Ask yourself about each expense. Does this serve my purpose or only feed a fleeting desire? Discipline begins in the details and is not about living in scarcity, but about living in the abundance of what matters. What is more valuable? A closet full of clothes you don't wear, or the peace of laying your head on a pillow debt-free? What weighs more, frequent dinners to impress, or the security of having savings set aside? The choice is yours, and every financial choice shapes the life you are building. The Stoics reminded us that nothing external truly belongs to us. Money comes and goes. What remains is how we handle it. If you depend on money for peace, you will be a slave. If you learn to use it as a tool, you will be free. Wealth is not a loaded bank account. It's the serenity of knowing you live within your means in order, without invisible chains. My friend, organize your finances not out of ambition, but for freedom. Every time you say no to a useless expense, you are saying yes to your peace of mind. Every time you save a little, you are building not just security, but self-respect. External order that begins with money transforms into internal ease. And remember, whoever masters their desires also masters their finances. Whoever masters their finances masters their life. Underscore, 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 underscore. We spend hours on distractions that don't nourish us.
Lesson 10.
We accept commitments
the calendar
that
of the
add
soul
nothing.
master.
We
Your
waste
time
entire
before it
days
masters
trying
you.
to please others.
Time is the most
Only when we look
democratic
back do we
resource there
realize
is.
how much has slipped
Everyone
away.
receives the same 24
The
hours a
Stoics
day.
saw this truth clearly.
What differentiates
Life
lives
isn't
is
short.
not the quantity,
It's our waste
but how
that
each person
shortens it.
decides to use
Time
them.
cannot be stored,
Yet we live
nor
as if
recovered.
time were infinite.
Every minute spent on something useless is a slice of life lost forever. This may sound harsh, but it's also liberating, because every morning you have the chance to decide again what to do with your time today. This is the question that defines destinies. Organizing life requires organizing the calendar. But I'm not just talking about appointments in a physical or digital planner. I'm talking about the calendar of the soul, what you give presence, attention, and energy to. Think of your routine as a small suitcase. If you try to cram everything in, it won't close. But if you choose carefully, taking only what matters, you travel light. The same goes for your day. If you fill it with everything, it ends up empty. If you choose consciously, it gains meaning. The problem is that most people live reactively. The phone rings, someone asks for something, a message arrives, and just like that, the course of the day changes. Time slips through your fingers because you allowed others to steer it. But when you commit to taking the wheel, something changes. Setting sacred times to start and end your day is a powerful discipline. Morning should be a space for internal alignment, not immediate consumption of distractions. Evening should be a space for closure, reflection, and rest, not sterile worries. These two anchors support everything else. And remember, time isn't just about doing, it's also about pausing. Many take pride in a full schedule, but forget that rest is part of the work. Conscious leisure, when you contemplate, breathe, walk, or simply observe is not wasted. It's fertile ground. The silence between the notes is what makes music exist. The same is true for life. Without pauses, it becomes mere noise. Organizing time is not about blind productivity, but about living aligned. It's recognizing that every hour is a rare coin. Once spent, you never get it back. So ask yourself, where do I want to invest this coin today? In something that brings me closer to who I am, or in something that merely distracts me from who I could be? My friend, when you say, I don't have time, you're really saying, this is not my priority. It's hard to admit, but it's also a key to power. Because if time slips away through unconscious choices, it can be regained through deliberate ones. Master your time before it masters you. Treat every hour as a piece of life you won't get back. And when you do, you'll realize that organizing time is, in fact, organizing your very existence. And then everything begins to change. Because when you honor time, time begins to honor you. Lesson 11. Surround yourself with what elevates. Distance yourself from what drains. You can organize your schedule, your finances, your routine. But if you don't organize your relationships, there will always be noise, weight, and wear. Because in the end, who you allow into your circle shapes who you become. No one is neutral. The people around you either strengthen you or consume you. And an organized life cannot bear the burden of chaotic bonds. The Stoics already warned about this. Seneca said we must be selective in choosing whom we spend time with because we absorb the habits, vices, and even the moods of others. It's like walking through a field of flowers or a swamp. You don't come out the same way you entered. Relationships are atmospheres, and you breathe the air of the environment you place yourself in. But here's the point. Organizing relationships is not about isolating yourself, nor cutting everyone off at the first sign of difficulty. It's about discernment. It's noticing who adds value, who inspires, who lifts you up, and also who drains, manipulates, or weighs more than they contribute. Life is too short to constantly be in the presence of those who diminish your light. Look at the people closest to you. Ask yourself, how do I feel after being with them? Energized, inspired, at peace, or tired, insecure, drained? This is the most honest measure. Words can deceive, appearances can mislead, but the body doesn't lie. It knows when a bond is nourishing or poisoning. And organizing relationships requires courage. Courage to set boundaries when necessary. Courage to distance yourself from those who insist on repeating toxic patterns. Courage to nurture the healthy bonds, because they also demand dedication. The mistake isn't just tolerating what harms you, it's neglecting what does good. How many times have you failed to invest time in people who elevate you because you were too busy trying to fix the dramas of those who never wanted to change? This doesn't mean abandoning everyone at the first flaw. We are human, imperfect. All of us have shadows. But there is a difference between occasional mistakes and relationships that thrive on repeating destructive cycles. Organizing your bonds is choosing who walks beside you, not because you think you're better, but because you know your energy is limited and must be invested wisely. Here's a liberating truth. When you start organizing internally, you naturally distance yourself from those who don't match that movement. Internal order repels external chaos and attracts those who resonate on the same frequency of clarity and growth. You don't need to argue or announce cuts. Often, simply staying firm on your path lets the bonds that no longer serve dissolve on their own. My friend, you don't need many friends. You need good friends. Not a crowd, but a small, solid network that walks beside you when the road gets tough. Organized relationships aren't perfect, but they are nourishing. They require effort, but they return peace. They demand time, but they return strength. Organizing relationships is, ultimately, organizing the atmosphere you breathe every day. And breathing clean air is a basic condition for living lightly. Choose consciously who deserves to stay close, because in the end, life is also the sum of the people you choose to have around you. underscore 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 underscore. Lesson 12. How to put your emotions in order. Organizing emotions is perhaps the greatest challenge in life, because the mess in a drawer can be tidied with your hands. But the disorder in finances can be corrected with numbers. The fire burning within emotional chaos demands something far deeper. Will be just a courage to face yourself. The Stoics never said we should suppress our emotions. That is exactly what we avoid. On the contrary, we prefer to blame others, that we are sensitive beings, or bury our feelings under layers of commitments. What they rejected was living as slaves to these emotions. Anger, sadness, fear, anxiety, they are all natural. What is not natural is allowing them to guide our actions like invisible tyrants. Like fire, emotions are neither good nor bad. It all depends on how you direct them. Fire can warm a house or reduce it to ashes. The choice is in who wields it. Organizing emotions begins with an essential step: awareness. Most people don't truly feel what they feel. They just react. Someone says something and you explode. A problem arises and you freeze. Your heart races and you think you're lost. But Stoic awareness invites us to create distance between stimulus and response. Epictetus said it's not what happens that disturbs us, but the interpretation we give to what happens. That interval between fact and reaction is the home of freedom. Practicing pause is the most powerful exercise for organizing the inner fire. Next time you feel anger rising, stop, breathe, don't respond immediately. If sadness weighs on you, don't believe the automatic narrative of defeat. If anxiety tightens its grip, don't confuse your thoughts with truths. By taking a deep breath and creating space, you are not denying the emotion. You are organizing it. In that moment, you transform reaction into response, impulse into choice, confusion into clarity. But it's not enough to simply contain it. You must translate it. Every emotion carries a message. Anger may signal that a boundary has been crossed. Sadness may point to something that requires farewell. Anxiety may reveal that you are trying to control the uncontrollable. When you listen to your emotion as a warning rather than a verdict, it becomes a guide instead of an enemy. Here's another lesson. Organizing emotions doesn't mean living in absolute peace, as if nothing affects you. That would deny your own humanity. The goal is not to extinguish the fire, but to master its direction. You can feel anger without harming, sadness without freezing, fear without giving up. Because feeling is not the problem. The problem is handing the helm of your life over to fleeting feelings. Imagine your mind as a city. Emotions are like visitors knocking at the door. Some arrive loudly, others quietly. You cannot prevent them from appearing, but you can choose whether to let them occupy the living room or take over the entire house. Organizing your emotions means learning to receive them, dialogue with them, and let them go without becoming a hostage to any of them. The historical practice of keeping a journal was a powerful way to order this inner fire. Marcus Aurelius wrote every night, not to be read by others, but for himself. It was the space where he reviewed his reactions, evaluated his feelings, and reorganized his soul. You can do the same. Writing what you feel is like holding a mirror up to your heart. Words give shape to chaos, and chaos loses power when it is named. My friend, if your life feels disorganized, look inward first. Ask yourself, are my emotions in order, or are they dragging me from side to side? Don't demand perfection. We all fluctuate, but choose little by little to be the master of the fire, not a slave to the flame. Because in the end, true order is not just in a tidy house, balanced finances, or a scheduled agenda. True order begins in a serene heart, able to feel without losing itself, able to burn without destroying itself. The secret is not to extinguish the fire, but to transform it into a force that lights the way. Underscore, 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 underscore. Discipline lives in simplicity, and freedom is born from discipline. Turn small acts into great foundations. It wasn't built all at once. Many believe that organizing life requires a huge organized life, a nearly superhuman effort. It is not built in a single leap, is what makes so many people give up before even starting. Micro decision you make throughout the day is different. Getting up on time, transformation doesn't come from a grand gesture. Keeping your desk tidy before small acts, writing 3 lines about your day. Small gestures, almost invisible, yet they uphold the entire structure. Disorder, on the other hand, also starts in the details. It is not a great tragedy that disrupts your life, but the small, neglected actions accumulated over time. A task postponed today, a conversation avoided tomorrow, a commitment ignored later, and suddenly chaos spreads. The discipline of simplicity is precisely the antidote. It is consciously choosing the next step, no matter how small, and carrying it out consistently. The Stoics valued these daily acts because they knew that it is not the extraordinary that shapes character, but the ordinary lived with intention. One day of discipline may seem insignificant, but 100 days can transform a life. And this transformation does not require perfection. It requires constancy. You may fail at times, but if you maintain the commitment to return to the simple, you will inevitably build lasting order. The discipline of simplicity also protects against the tyranny of motivation, because motivation is like the wind. Sometimes it blows, sometimes it disappears. Discipline, however, does not depend on conditions. It is like a river that flows whether the sun shines or a storm rages. By creating small but firm habits, you do not need to wait for inspiration to act. You act because it is part of who you are. A powerful exercise is to choose 3 micro-habits to support your routine. They do not need to be difficult. On the contrary, they should be so simple that you have no excuse not to do them. Something like making your bed upon waking, walking 10 minutes a day, writing 1 gratitude at night. These acts may seem small on their own, but together they function as roots that keep the tree steady against the wind. Over time, you will notice something remarkable. Simplicity not only organizes your external life, but also organizes your soul. Each time you complete a small act, you tell yourself, I am capable, I am reliable, I keep my promises. This internal dialogue strengthens your self-esteem and clarity. My friend, don't wait for the big breakthrough. It rarely happens. What changes your life is the discipline of simplicity. 1 step at a time, 1 choice at a time, 1 silent victory after another. It is in faithfulness to the small that the greatness of the whole is born. Underscore, 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 underscore. Many believe discipline is constant motion. Lesson 14. That a well-organized life leaves no minute also lives in the pause. But this is a dangerous misconception. Is not just knowing where to place each task, discipline turns into tyranny. It is also knowing where to place warned against excessive busyness. Seneca said, it's not that we have little time. The moment when you do not produce, waste, solve, or chase anything. We waste not only in obvious vices, but also in the false sense of productivity. When we fill our agendas without reflection, we rush from one thing to another, but to where? Excess doing, when not accompanied by clarity, is merely disguised disorder. A life without pauses is not organized. It is chaotic. Think of a bow with arrows. If the string remains constantly stretched, it will eventually snap. To last, it needs to relax between shots. You function the same way. If you demand constant energy from yourself without allowing rest, your body and mind will break. But if you learn to alternate effort and pause, you find the natural rhythm that sustains life long-term. Rest is not just sleep, though sleep is the basic foundation of health and mental clarity. Rest also means disconnecting from noise, making space for silence, contemplating without hurry. It's turning off screens, letting your gaze wander over a landscape, allowing a slow walk, a deep breath. It is a space where you need not prove anything to anyone. It is in rest that you reconnect with who you truly are, free from external pressures. Notice, it is often during pauses that the greatest insights arise. How many times has a clear idea appeared in the shower, on a walk, or during a moment of idleness? It is no accident. When the mind is overloaded, it cannot see. But when it quiets, the pieces begin to fit together on their own. Rest is fertile. It not only restores energy, but reveals clarity that busyness cannot allow. Organizing life, therefore, requires organizing rest. This does not happen by chance. You must schedule pauses with the same seriousness as meetings or tasks. Block time to sleep early, to disconnect from screens, to be present in silence. Do not treat these moments as secondary. They are part of discipline. Just as training strengthens muscles, rest strengthens the mind. But here is a cultural barrier. We have been conditioned to believe that stopping is laziness, that resting is weakness, that only those constantly busy deserve value. This mindset is a silent poison, because rest is not the enemy of productivity. It is its foundation. Those who rest well work better. Those who sleep poorly must exert triple the effort to produce half the results. Nature teaches us this clearly. Trees do not grow without winter. Rivers do not flow without calm stretches. Even the human heart alternates contraction and relaxation to pump blood. The entire universe organizes itself in cycles of action and pause. Only we, blinded by haste, try to live in continuous motion. Sooner or later, the body demands, the mind collapses, the soul exhausts. My friend, do not feel guilty for resting. See the pause as part of your discipline, not a failure. Work with intensity, but rest with the same dedication. Understand that rest is not a luxury, it is a necessity. It is not wasted time. It is time invested in clarity, health, and strength, because in the end, even the most determined warrior needs nights of sleep. Even the strongest tree needs seasons of rest. And you, who seek order, also need to learn the art of stopping. Resting is organizing your energy so that life can continue steady, full, and enduring. Lesson 15. Organize life around purpose. You can organize your schedule, your finances, your relationships, your body, and even the silence of your mind. You can put everything in its rightful place, create firm routines, simplify, rest, and discipline yourself. But if you don't know what all of this points toward, life will still feel empty, because order without purpose is merely aesthetic, tidy on the outside, but hollow within. The deepest form of organization is aligning your life with a greater meaning. The Stoics called this living in accordance with nature, not just the nature of trees and rivers, but your own nature, what you are called to be, what only you can offer to the world. Marcus Aurelius said that each of us comes into the universe with a specific function, like a gear that finds peace only when fulfilling its role. This is not a fixed destiny, but a direction. It is realizing that when you rush in all directions without a central axis, your life fragments. But when you find a purpose, all areas align in harmony. Purpose usually does not appear as a sudden, illuminated revelation. It is built in everyday life through choices and small acts. It is a thread woven over time until you look back and see it clearly. It is what gives meaning to your journey. And there is no magic formula to approach it. There are questions. What gives me energy instead of just consuming it? What makes me feel whole even when no one is watching? What would I do even without applause, without reward, simply because it makes sense to me? Many confuse purpose with external grandeur. They think it only resides in extraordinary achievements, brilliant careers, or visible accomplishments. But true purpose can live in simplicity. It can be educating a child with love, serving the community silently, working with dignity, creating something that helps others. Purpose is not measured by size, but by truth. It is not about how impressive it is, but about how fulfilling it is for you. When you organize your life around purpose, everything gains clarity. Priorities become obvious. Excess loses its power. Distractions become less seductive. It is like lighting a flame in the dark. Suddenly, the path becomes visible. Ask yourself every day, Does this bring me closer to or further from my purpose? This may be the most powerful way to keep life in order. Without purpose, even the greatest efforts feel heavy. You can work non-stop, accumulate money, earn applause, and still feel a void nothing can fill. With purpose, even the hardest sacrifices feel lighter because you know where you are headed. It is like rowing at sea. Rowing without direction is exhausting and despairing. Rowing toward an island is bearable, even if the sea is rough, because each stroke brings you closer to your destination. Purpose also shields you from crises. When everything around you falters, money, work, relationships, it is purpose that sustains you. It is the invisible axis that keeps you standing when circumstances try to knock you down. Organizing life around purpose is, therefore, planting deep roots that no storm can uproot. There is an essential detail. Purpose is not something you discover once and for all. It evolves, deepens, and transforms as you grow. What gives meaning today may mature and take new forms. Don't worry if you don't yet have all the answers. Purpose is built as you walk the path. My friend, having reached this point, you realize that organizing life is not just about tidying external drawers, but ordering the heart. It is not only about controlling time, but investing that time in what truly matters. It is not merely accumulating experiences, but living them with intention. The true goal of organization is to live for something greater than yourself. Do not settle for being efficient. Be significant. Do not live only to keep things orderly on the outside. Live to align everything within. Because in the end, life is not measured by the number of things we accomplish, but by the meaningful weight we carry in every act. An organized life is one that not only functions, but is worth living. I sincerely hope this message has been useful. I want to congratulate you sincerely for reaching this point and completing the video. This shows that you genuinely want to improve as a person. If you enjoyed the video, leave a comment. If you don't know what to comment, write gratitude. That way, I'll know you watched until the end. If you're not yet subscribed to the channel, what are you waiting for? Subscribe now and join us. Stoicism is full of teachings like this that are applicable to everyday life. Therefore, I encourage you to continue learning about this philosophy. I leave here 2 videos full of Stoic wisdom so you can keep learning. See you next time.